you heard Jim talk about, I guess, the inspection process, which is really what a seller needs to do once the contract's in place, once somebody's actually ready to, try to sell their home, even that second step. But the first step, trying to find a buyer for that home, there must be a lot of other things that most sellers really need to go through.
It's true. There are. What I usually do is we talk early on, 2 to 3 weeks before the house comes on the market, and we look at the things that need to happen for the home to be ready for the market, because buyers generally give you one shot, and if you're not ready to go, almost like going to a dance, if you don't have your outfit in place and your hair all done, people don't give you a second look. And so you need to have
People
everything.
still go to dances?
All right, maybe I'm dating myself there. However, but it's the same sort of concept. You don't want to come on the market and then worry about your lawn and then worry about the paint. You want everything done before you come on the market, because you only get one shot at the first eyeballs.
Mm-hmm. And so is there like it must be an entire list of things that somebody must need to go through in order to prepare it the absolute best it can be?
There are. I generally start with a walkthrough with my clients, and so we meet at the home and we walk around the perimeter, we walk around the inside, we look at different things like the roof, the painting, the carpeting, the furniture, how it's laid out in the home. Many times I will have them pull out furniture that they may have lived with in the home for years and years, because of course the idea is to have people coming through the home imagining themselves living there. So I also, generally speaking, will have sellers take family photos down off the walls, because what happens is if a buyer comes through the home and sees all of these family photos up on the walls, what they're starting to think about is, oh wow, a really nice family lives here. That's sort of counterintuitive, and it's counterproductive, because we want them to be thinking about themselves living there. And when they see somebody else's photos, they completely detach. And so things like noticing the photos, taking furniture out of the rooms, making sure the carpet's in good condition. Does it need to be cleaned? Do the baseboards need to be touched up? Are there dings everywhere? Things like if there's one gutter hanging loose on the corner of the outside, that by itself isn't a problem. But like what was mentioned earlier, is you're destroying the trust of the buyer that comes through. If they see the one thing that's hanging loose, that makes them wonder about, well, what else is not being taken care of? So what you want to do is you make sure you want everything buttoned up so that they don't have cause to question the maintenance of the home.
Yeah, that's an interesting point that you guys have both made, is destroying this element of trust, because there are forms and whatnot that you fill out. And really, nobody's going to know that house better than the person who's been living there for quite some time. However, nobody wants to sell the house more than the person who's been living there for quite some time. And so what is the best way to establish that trust? I guess it's really taking care of some of this checklist that you're talking about.
Mm-hmm. It is. And one of the things, say, for example, on the walkthrough that I do with the sellers is they were talking about things that pass inspection or pre-inspection. One of the things I did recently with a seller was they had a gas stove and they hadn't gotten around to putting in the vent on the stove. Wide open kitchen, lots of windows, so it wasn't an immediate hazard, but I knew right off that was going to get bumped on inspection. The inspector was going to take one look at the gas stove and see that it was not vented and realize, hey, wait a minute, that has to be fixed. So I said, okay, let's put the vent in ahead of time so that we don't have that come up at the end. And so things like that help, and to build the trust to make sure that everything's just done properly.
I could only imagine you see like a stove that isn't vented and you're going, oh my goodness, what other shortcuts did they take? And it could be that one thing.
Exactly. And there may not be any other shortcuts. But the point is that it causes the question, like you said. And for an electric stove, it's not nearly as big a deal, but for a gas stove, it's necessary. So it just causes the question that you don't need.
And so is the process you take people through trying to alleviate as many questions that the buyer may have about a property?
Mm-hmm. It is. And it's also, in a way, a lot of psychology. So, for example, a home had a kitchen table that was very near a door up to a deck. And so the door was bumping against the table. So there was plenty of space in this room. But if the door is bumping against the table, the immediate image in the person's mind when they're trying to get outside is, oh, wow, this is a really tight space. The fix was as simple as moving the table 3 inches. And there was plenty of room to do that. And then all of a sudden the door swung freely and there was no concept of tightness and tight quarters. So little things like that, and the psychology of taking a door off a stairway to a basement that makes the home feel much more cohesive.
Mm-hmm. So when you start going through these processes with people, is there typically maybe a dollar amount somebody should be thinking about as far as getting this up and ready, or does it totally depend on the home?
I think that it depends on the home. It also depends on your price bracket in a lot of ways. And it depends on, well, like I said, the condition of the home as well. So, for example, if there is a roof that needs to be replaced, sometimes you can account for that in the pricing. Depends on whether it's going to get flagged on appraisal. If it gets flagged on appraisal, it's going to have to be done before the deal closes. But if it's something like changing the counters in a kitchen or improving the paint in a bathroom, I always caution people because don't spend a whole lot of money getting your home ready in terms of cosmetic upgrades, because you want to sell the home, you want to have it look neat and clean and well kept, but the buyer is going to want their own choices. And how do you know if they're going to like the color that you like? And so spending the money in the granite that you like might be a color that the buyer hates, and therefore that's wasted money, and you are not going to get it dollar for dollar back.
So as you do this, is there some element, I guess you could almost think of this as when people or a builder is listing a new home. It's very kind of blah, right? I mean, there's not so much in, I guess, people's favorite colors are in these homes. Is that same strategy?
Yeah, you want to appeal to, there's a couple things. When you're making changes to your home, you have to consider whether this is your forever home. If it's your forever home, do whatever you want. Know that you're not going to worry about it. If you only expect to be there 5 to 7 years, don't make huge permanent changes that you don't think that might be, well, don't put a hot tub in your living room kind of changes that aren't going to be appealing to many people.
What do you mean?
If it's your forever home, hey, by all means.
Right. I have to get home and get that hot tub out of my front room.
It's an extreme example, but you understand what I mean.
I dig it. So really, I mean, there's this it sounds like there's kind of this big piece of the puzzle is you're no longer maybe fixing this house up or preparing it for yourself anymore. You're preparing it or fixing it up for the next person.
Yes. And it's sort of like if you walk someplace and your shoes are untied. Somebody might notice that your shoes are untied and they're going to wonder, well, okay, did they brush their hair or what have you? And just tie your shoes. It's really a simple thing. And like when you're looking at the outside and the curb appeal, mowing the lawn is great, but then take the extra few minutes to edge it makes an incredible difference in the appearance. And it's just a simple thing, but the appearance to the buyers makes all the difference in the world.
Sandy Walsh joins us, realtor with RE/MAX Metro Realty. Sandy, we just have about a minute left, but when you go through this, if somebody is really, whether they're pressed on time or they're pressed on finances or whatever it may be, and they can't go through and do everything, are there any very key components to preparing a house for sale that you really just can't live without?
Thorough cleaning, making it as little clutter as possible, taking things out, even if that means that the furniture has to sit in the garage because you want it open and bright and airy. If that means keeping windows open to air it out, then that's what it means.
So, I mean, I guess nobody wants to buy a house that smells funny.
No. Well, actually, it's a great idea for an investor because a lot of people don't have the vision to see, okay, wait, it smells. That means replace the carpeting, paint the walls, you're done. And they'll just have the smell and think, I don't want anything to do with it.
Interesting. So smell really deters people who want to live there, but investors don't mind smell at all.
Well, no, because they know that it's easily changeable.
Interesting.
Carpet holds smell and like smoke or what have you, like you would not believe.
Sure, but a lot of people, if you go into a smelly house, I mean, it's all you think about. This house stinks.
Yep. And tearing the carpet out, maybe there's hardwoods underneath.
Get some Glade. Yeah. Glade plugins, huh?
Febreze.
At a minimum, if you can't replace the carpet, open the windows, get some Glades.